Good evening, everyone. Varun Prasad Gokhale, your host, welcome all the viewers who are tuning in to watch today's seminar as a part of VReach 2021 by the Department of Electronics. VESIT Reach or VReach is a VESIT alumni engagement initiative which is brought to you by the VESIT Internal Quality Assurance Cell in association with VESIT's Institute Innovation Council. VReach aims to create a conducive environment for the transformation of a student to a professional. Through VReach initiative, we hope that our alumni can become the catalyst to facilitate this change. The initiative hopes that students will take important points which will help them to navigate through the ever-changing professional environment. And we hope that our alumni can guide the students and be their guiding light. Today's objective is to enlighten students on why, how, when should you start your own company, the journey of entrepreneurship, its insights, and the aspects of starting a startup or a company. Before I introduce you to the speaker of today's seminar, I would like to request our HOD ma'am, Mrs. Kavita Tiwari, to share a few words so that we can start the seminar on a positive note.
Good evening all. On behalf of Electronics Department, I, Kavita Tiwari, welcome all to Alumni Interaction Program We Reach. Through We Reach, we hope to connect our students with alumni who are working in the industry. I hope through this interaction, our students get exposure to various industries and career opportunities. I hope this will encourage our students to pursue entrepreneurship and make them aware of various trends in technology. This in turn will make our students to learn required skill set. Thank you. Hope you will have fruitful time in today's video session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening words. Now, I would like to introduce the speaker for today, Mr. Shivakumar Krishnamurthy. Mr. Shivakumar Krishnamurthy graduated from VESIT in 2017 with a degree in electronics engineering. Soon after his graduation, he started Revolo Infotech with one of his batchmates. He manages various departments in the company such as sales, business development, marketing, and project management. Under him, today, Revolo Infotech has more than 50 clients globally and 10 different software products. I would like to hand over the stage to Mr. Shivakumar Krishnamurthy to share his experiences and insights on building a startup. Over to you, sir.
Yes, hi. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the kind words. Today I wanted to talk to the people in Vesit about what it involves in starting a company of your own and how the journey is, how you should be going forward with different aspects. When we talk about startups, right now is a very exciting time. So it is a very good time to start a company today. And if you look at the news relating to startups, you will see a lot of exciting things that are happening. So, for instance, recently Zomato had its IPO, and that has paved the way for a lot of different startups to go through the public route. And similarly, we also see that several companies are raising loads of funding. It's a very exciting time to be in the startup industry. So because Zomato went through the IPO route, what happened was Swiggy gained a lot of funding through that because everyone knows that if Zomato is going through this route, Swiggy is going to follow. Similarly, we also see several different innovative ideas that are coming up in today's day. Like there are apps for each and everything. So tech is driving the world today to a better place. The benefits of information technology, which wasn't there before, we, people are getting that into the industry right now. For instance, there is a startup called Moglix, which takes care of selling furniture online. This company got funded by Tata recently. Also, to the artists out there, non-fungible tokens, NFTs are a thing which is supposed to interest all of you because NFTs have been selling like hotcakes. There are a lot of different digital arts that are being sold for millions of dollars. So things are very exciting, and I would request everyone to look at the startup news every now and then to understand how things are working today. So back when I was in college, Uber, Ola, Oyo, these were the hot startups at that time. And we used to listen to news of these startups getting funded with millions of dollars, them having a valuation of $1 billion, these companies being called unicorns, and startups basically changing the route of the future. So this is not something that had been common, say, 20 years ago, but today it is very common. Every day there are several different startups that raise funding, that do something innovative and solve several problems. So I wanted to go through what it was like to start my own company back when I was in college. And I want to share the journey with all of you about how I went forward with it. So how did we get the idea to start an IT company? Um, as Varun already has explained, my startup Rivolo Infotech serves a lot of different clients across the globe. So we started out as a company that creates software for logistics companies. So logistics companies are basically companies that transport goods. So these could be your parcel companies. These could be the companies that transport raw materials from one place to another. So we wanted to serve these guys. And how did we come across with this idea, and how did we implement something to a level where right now we have several transporters using our software products? And not only that, we also ventured into several other avenues where we could replicate this model of creating software products for different industries. So I want to share that. So this all started back in my fourth semester, and I was writing an exam for some subject that, and the paper did not go very well. So what usually happens is that after you write the paper, you have some time to hang out with your friends and discuss how the paper went. That day, everyone was quite upset about how the paper went, and it was a difficult paper overall. But also on that day, there was some news about Ola or Uber or some startup like that that had raised another round of funding. So my friend and I, we were sitting in the garden of the college, and we were discussing how startups are are having these weird ideas that are not very complicated. I mean, booking a cab through a mobile app. There are several such ideas that we could brainstorm at the moment, and these startups, they implement these simplistic ideas. I mean, it is difficult to implement something on a large scale, but the idea itself is pretty simplistic. So Nitin and I, we were discussing that you can book cabs through mobile. It's so simple to book a cab, but I don't think it's the same for a truck. So if somebody has to book a truck, I don't think that's the process. I think there would be many other aspects to book a truck. So why don't we start something to book trucks online? Why don't we have an application for real-time truck booking? So this was just something that we were brainstorming after an exam, and in the spirit of brainstorming, we were discussing several ideas as well. But this idea, it did catch our attention. And one thing that we realized is that starting up is not about the idea, it is more about implementation. So there are several simple ideas that we could discuss, but not everyone implements these ideas. And the ones who do implement it, they go a long way. That's what we've always seen. The startups that are able to implement a great idea, they are the ones that actually do a lot of good things for everyone. So as we discussed this idea, what we discussed was that we had a few ideas actually. So what we discussed was, let us implement this one idea first, see how it works out. If it doesn't work out, we'll move on to something else. So in that spirit, we started having discussions on a weekly basis about how to get into the logistics industry, what these people do, what problems they face. and is this the right problem to solve? If we did solve this problem, would people be willing to switch to our solution? So these are some of the discussions that we had. And one thing was very clear: we didn't want to be stuck just discussing things. We wanted to be implementing things, because discussions go nowhere. So what we did was, we thought we will go to Bhandup, and because Nitin lived in Bhandup and he knew a lot of different truck drivers and people with trucks around his area. I mean, he used to see them as he used to go home. So he said that we can definitely have a word with a few truck guys if we go to Bhandup near the station. So that is exactly what we did. It was not a very smart decision that we made, but yeah, we just went out to the market in Bhandup and we were talking to truck drivers about the problems they have. And I mean, this was all in the spirit of not just having discussions and also doing something. So we went to the truck drivers and asked them if they would use an app if we created, if we had an app that would give them orders, would they be willing to pick it up? So this was something that was interesting for us, because neither Nitin nor I, we both did not have an idea of the transport industry. We had no prior experience. We both were electronic students trying to build software for logistics companies. So it was all very alien to us. So we were trying to get as much information as possible. So this is how things started. We had a few discussions here and there, and then we started working on a small prototype. So we tried to build a website and create a marketplace where people could put in their orders and these truck guys could receive the orders successively. So that is what we started with. And by the time we were in the fifth or sixth semester, we had a small prototype ready of the website. So during this period, obviously college goes on as usual. And also what we used to do was that we used to go to Abhay sir, and we used to discuss these ideas with Abhay sir. So what happened was that Abhay sir also had a relative who had started his own business and who was successful with the business. So Abhay sir would often guide us as to what ideas could work or could not work, and how to move ahead with different aspects of the business. So we used to just have casual discussions after college. We would go into the staff room and we would ask sir if he's available for a bit to have this small discussion. And we used to do this on a weekly basis. So the most important thing here used to be that we used to show up on a weekly basis and discuss the progress, discuss what we've done. And this was very simplistic, and this was something very small that we were trying to do at that point of time. So how things worked out ahead was that we tried contacting different drivers, different transporters, but the fish wasn't biting. It was getting tough. No one wanted to use the solution that we'd made. And again, our solution was not very well developed, but it was something that we hoped to get started with. But it wasn't working out. People were not interested in the solution. So what we were trying to do was that we were calling up transporters and we were explaining the idea to them. So these were cold calls. So we just took a phone registry, we started calling up all these transporters and we asked them, भैया हम लोग ने ऐसे एक product बनाया है, आप use करोगे क्या? And 9 times out of 10 people would just shut off the phone, and the one person who did talk to us, they didn't make much sense. So all that wasn't working out very well at that point of time. But what happened was that we started focusing. So at this point of time, our focus was mainly on the solution side of things. We were very focused on building a platform for logistics companies, and that's all that we knew about. We wanted to create an interface like Flipkart or Amazon, and we just wanted to get the technical side of things. We never asked the transporters what problems they were facing. We just assumed a problem and we started building our solution for what we thought was a problem. So there were several problems with the idea that we had. I mean, a truck driver is always associated with a truck and the truck is associated with a company. The driver rarely owns his own truck. So the driver isn't a decision maker to get these orders and things like that for this to be working. So it was a flop at first because we were not focused on the real problems in the industry. We had a more romantic ideology about how things should be working. So this is something that I see very often in the startup industry where people waste a long time. We wasted a year in building a product that no one wanted. So I would highly recommend that people who try starting up with a small idea, I would recommend that you go to the market as soon as possible and validate your idea. Um, we were taking the right steps in trying to gain validation, but we were not talking to the right people. So if so, what we did next was that we wanted to spend more time discussing the problems, discussing the different ways to get into the logistics industry with this whole marketplace idea. So what we did next was that we did a lot of brainstorming. We talked to our different friends regarding this idea, and we realized that there is an accelerator course called Y Center, which was started by one of our alumni, Dhairya Pujara. So we were very much interested in this accelerator because that the program mentioned that they would help us out in thinking of different problems, how to come up with solutions, how to start a business. And so we joined the course and we met a lot of interesting people there. It was a 1 month course, if I'm not wrong, and there were a lot of different discussions that happened. There were a lot of theories that were taught to us. There were a lot of case studies that happened. So all these things open your eyes to how businesses really work. Because as students, we really don't know how businesses work or how people make money, how the rich people are rich, why the poor people are poor. We have no idea. So this course and going through different case studies, like once you start talking about startups, when everyone around you is talking about startups, you start noticing things differently and you start doing your own research. You start going into YouTube and you start seeing how companies like Samsung are successful, how they got started, and how Sony got started, and how these tech giants, what was Apple's first product, and how Apple is such a huge $1 trillion company right now, how Amazon got started. You start taking a look at how these people started. They all started with small steps. They all started doing simple things very well. So, keeping these things in mind, the course got over, and at the end of the course, they gave us an opportunity to pitch to real investors. So, for that whole pitch, we did a lot of preparation. We thought of a lot of different problems and solutions and things like that, and we made a pitch deck to present to investors. And we did the pitch. Nitin and I, we both went into Y Center that day and we had a pitch, and the investors gave us a lot of feedback. So the thing about investors is that they are very nice people who give open feedback and they never dissuade anyone. So even if you presented them with an idea that did not make much sense, maybe they wouldn't say anything rude to you. I mean, that is the fear that everyone has, that you will be booed out of the place. So that doesn't happen. They give you very valid feedback. They also talk about how you should take your next steps when they would be interested. They do that kind of a thing. So, keeping these things in mind, they did not want to invest in our idea yet, but they did ask a lot of questions that we had not even thought about. Like, for instance, one of the investors asked, "How would you generate leads?" And we didn't even know what leads were. So, basically, what the investor was asking was that, "How are you going to generate a clientele?" And this was a question we had never even thought about. So once the course got done, there was a period of time where there were exams in college, and all the college activities get in the way, and you're not really able to put in all your time into the startup. But what we were doing was that we were really having a lot of discussions every week. and we were trying to implement as much as we could, and also obviously studying for college exams and things like that. That went on for a while, and then the placement season came, and a lot of companies came in to take their students, and Nitin and I, we both got placed in Accenture. So once you got placed in Accenture, the question in our head was that are we still planning on doing a startup, or are we going to join Accenture like everyone else? And this was a question that we pondered over for quite a while. We got placed, I think, at the end of around the seventh semester, and we didn't make our decision till after college. So all this went on, and finally, once college got over, we had a lot of time. We had a lot of free time, and as you all might know, there is a time between the college ending and the company actually calling you for work. So there is about a few months time in between. So in this time, what we did was we started working on our idea full time, and that was very beautiful. That was very good for us. As we started working on our idea full time, we also started looking at events that are happening around us. So even right now, if you go into Google and see what startup events are happening, there definitely is some or the other startup event that is happening, say this weekend, uh, or say in this month. You'll definitely be able to find something. So there was one such free course that was present. So this was a freemium kind of a seminar. The first seminar is free. You can attend the first free seminar, and then later you got to pay for the rest of the seminar. So what we thought was we can definitely attend this free seminar because it's free, and it was on a Sunday. So I was pretty lazy back then, but then I decided that anyway we are not doing anything much, so let's make a good Sunday out of this. And it was a full day thing. It was a course that was going to go on from 9 o'clock in the morning to say 6 o'clock in the evening. Out there, what happened was there were a lot of like-minded people who had already started their business actually, and they were there to get consultancy from the speaker. So in this, the speaker mentioned that um, everyone like after an hour of the speaker talking about different business strategies and things like that, the speaker said that I would request everyone to stand up and talk to the person who is next to you. And this person that is next to you, you should not know that person. You should talk to a stranger and tell them about your business. They will tell you about your business, and you can see how things go ahead. If you can assist each other or something like that. So what I did was I went to the speaker himself, and I started telling him about the journey I had, about talking to drivers and about talking to different people getting shot down, all these things. So he found all this quite interesting, and he asked me to present this in front of the whole audience, and he gave me 2 minutes for that. So I went on stage, I spoke for this about this for a bit, and I got back down. Now, what happened was at the end of this meeting, a person came to me and said that they found this interesting, and they asked me to come to their office. Now, this person was a transporter, and this person ended up being my first client. So that day, that person gave me his card, and he asked me to visit his office on the coming week. And we did visit. Nitin and I, we both went there. And this time, instead of presenting him with our solutions, we decided to ask him for his problems. We wanted to know what he wanted. And we decided that we'll shut up for a bit and listen to the customer. So we went there, we spoke to him, and he mentioned that there are a lot of problems coming in because of lack of visibility. There are several problems that are coming in because I can't take data driven decisions. And he said that I want a software. So it was very simple right there. The client wanted a software, and we didn't have to think much. He was also ready to tell us what kind of software he wanted. And he asked us to visit his operations team out in Pune. So Nitin and I, we both were very excited about this. We both went to Pune. We spent a few days in their office, to see how things work, how transporters work, and we finally got the perspective that we were looking for. We never knew what transporters do. We asked a ton of questions. We recorded their answers. We wrote them down, and we asked them what they want. We asked them for references about other different softwares that are present in the market. So all these things helped us finally get our first client, and also it helped us in creating our software. So after that, we obviously had our first client. We quit our jobs that we hadn't started yet, and we went in full time. And after that, we started working on building logistics software. So that happened, and successively we started closing more clients. We started getting in more orders, and now we work with about 30 to 35 different transporters across India. So that is how this all happened, and that is how powerful it is to just go outside and talk to different people. It is very random, but luck plays a large role in entrepreneurship. You just have to give yourself a chance to get lucky. So that's how that happened. Now, basically, my time after starting up in 2017. So in 2017, we finally registered a company, and we registered Rivolo Infotech as a partnership. Then we started doing more sales and marketing activities. We really didn't know what we were doing even then. But that's how it all starts. You really don't know what you're doing until you try to figure things out. So it was a struggle for the first couple of years. So a lot of things happened, and we talked to a lot of different transporters. We made one software, and we tried to pitch that one software to different transporters to see if they'll bite. But it was very tough. Many transporters were not interested. Many transporters already had their own software. So over the next 2 years, what we did is we took our time to really study the industry, to talk to hundreds of different clients to see what kind of softwares they are using, what kind of problems they're having with that. And we developed 3 software products. And with those 3 software products, we created a lot of different features that were already present in the market. And we sold it to a lot of clients who are subscribed to our software now. So that's how that all started. Now, when the pandemic came on, it was definitely something that affected us, because clients did not have money to pay, and we had bills to pay. So these two things, contrary things that came in, were obviously difficult. So whenever you start up, the first 2 years of your journey are going to be tough, even if you're going in full time. And that, along with, so 2017 to 2019, we were just figuring things out. We had our software system, and by 2020, we had a few systems that were ready for selling, but then the pandemic comes on. So how did we tackle this? So during the pandemic, we really had some time to rethink a lot of different things and rethink our sales strategies, our marketing strategies. We started doing digital marketing, which was something new for us, because we have not really learned digital marketing as such. So by doing a few courses online and by looking at other ads that come on every day, we were able to put up a few good ads that got us a few clients. So that's how we stayed in the market. And what we did after that was that we doubled down on whatever was working for us, and we went ahead with that. So at the end of 2020, we also made this one more decision, that instead of just doing transport software, we also got into finance. We also started making software for finance companies, because we had an idea of how to create software now. With 2 to 3 years down our belt of creating software systems, we had really become very good at understanding what companies do. Companies have operations, they have billing, they have accounting, they have common processes that are present. So we took that understanding to another industry, and we built a finance software and got a client for that in a few months. So apart from that, what we also did was we started providing development services. So you have to move very quickly when things are under distress. So this was another decision that we took to stay in the market. And when we started doing this, we obviously knew our coding. We already had a good team that was into developing our software systems. So what we did was we doubled down on our team, we doubled down on our marketing, and we became the technical partner to two tech startups. So the tech startups outsourced their tech to us. And that is how we have been able to not only survive through the pandemic, but also thrive through it. So now what I want to discuss is, so basically this is the journey that I had. Now what I wanted to discuss further is who should start their own company. So I would like you guys to think for a moment about if you should start your own company and who would be the right person to start their company. Just think about it for a second. I believe that if you have always wanted to start your company, then you should start your company right now. Secondly, if you think that you have an idea that might work, then you should start your company. If you're curious about it, you should do it. Now, do you need to be a topper? Do you need to be a crazy genius or something like that? That's not the case. Anyone can start their own company, anyone can experiment. All you need is you will need a lot of patience and hard work. So, what will you exactly need to start your own company? So, firstly, you will need problem solving abilities. You will need to be very fast in your thinking, and you will need to be solving hundreds of problems that are going to come your way. So, as soon as you start, obviously, you're not going to start having these problems. You're going to need to implement a lot of things uh, before you start facing these problems. Secondly, you need to have the capability to handle stress because there are going to be a lot of unforeseen circumstances. You're not exactly going to know the direction in which you're heading to, and that comes with a lot of stress, obviously. And thirdly, you will need a lot of patience. So it took us 2 years to finally understand what we are doing and do it well. So give yourself that much time. You should have that much time set aside to experiment. So think of this as maybe an MBA or maybe a master's in business. So if you were going to do a course like that, you would dedicate the next 2 years of your life for that. So this is something very similar. You will have to dedicate the next 2 years of your life into figuring things out, into building these systems. So that is something that is very important. Now, money and connections, these two things are very nice to have in any given situation. But what is more important is that you should be very resourceful. So, what is being resourceful? It is you should know how to arrange for the resources that you need. So, maybe you don't have the money, maybe you don't have the connections. You should know where to get it and how to get it. Similarly, maybe you don't have the development capabilities to code out such a beautiful platform. So you should know developers who could do that. You should know friends who can do that. And you should have a good relationship with them so that you can start something with them and share the benefits with them. So these are some of the things that you need. Now, the next obvious question is when should you start? When should you start your own company? Now, if you have decided that you want to start your own company, the best time to start is right now. You should start right this moment. And why you should do that is because there is never a good time. If you think that you will get 2, 3 years of work experience under your belt and then start your company, what will happen is that in 2 to 3 years, you will have a good paying job. You will have been used to the lifestyle that the good paying job comes with. And at that time, it's going to be all the more hard to leave that and start. Secondly, in 2 to 3 years, your other friends who have done their MBAs and their MS and things like that, they are going to be getting placed in Facebook, and they're going to be getting placed in Amazon, and they're going to be posting pictures of that on Instagram. And at that time, you are going to feel very self-conscious to make a risky decision like this. Um, Again, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of pros of waiting for it when you talk about maybe doing an MBA, you gain the knowledge and things like that. But believe me, you will get a lot of knowledge by just going into starting up than if you are going to wait for it. So the right time to start is now. So a lot of people right now would be thinking that I don't have an idea. So what should I start? How do I get the idea in the first place? So when we talk about an idea, I would request that you should have a problem centric approach. So you should think about what problem you have, what problems are other people facing, and you should work on solving those problems. Now, for doing such a thing, what you can do is you can brainstorm with your friends about what problems they see around them. So, let's say you have a group of friends that you talk to every day. So, talk about, I mean, we do already talk about a lot of problems that we have. So, you can also elaborate on those discussions and think about solutions. So you can have these discussions a few times every week, and you can build up to maybe make a solution for the same. Now, how do you find a partner? How to find a partner to start up with? You should basically have these discussions, and you should have these discussions with a lot of people. Some people will stick around. Some people will come back to have these discussions with you on a regular basis. What you should do then is that you should talk about solving these problems and then take up small assignments. Maybe you should say that let's do this one small project to see if this works, and let's do it by this weekend. And you should see if they show up again at the end of the week. And you should see that you also show up. You should also be dedicated to do the same. And you can obviously plan these discussions and assignments and see who sticks around. So if you start with a group of say 5 6 people, maybe 2 or 3 will stick around, and you guys can have a lot of fun and a lot of experimentation in this process. But you will know that these are the people that are serious about starting up. So again, what is important here is that when you have these discussions, you should not get stuck paralyzed in just having all this analysis. So you should not have analysis paralysis. And you should be implementing as much as you discuss. So this is something that is very important. What are the pros and cons of starting up? So when you start up, you will meet a lot of new people. So let's say that you leave your job, or you stop looking for jobs, and you decide that you're going to start up after you complete your college. What will happen is that you will end up meeting a lot of new people. You will have a lot of new ideas when you talk to these new people. But also the con is that you will not really relate to all these new people that you meet. You will probably meet business owners who are maybe twice your age, and maybe you will meet drivers that are really not a part of your circle. Um, and so what ends up happening is that even though you meet a lot of new people, you don't really make a lot of new friends. So that's the con out there. The second thing is that you will really understand how the world around you works. And you will understand how businesses are in place, what businesses are doing, how they are making money. And you will understand all these beautiful things that were around you that you hadn't noticed before. The con about this is that this comes at the cost of the money that you could have made while working for your job and while chilling in the after of like after office hours. You could have been relaxing after office hours, but you will now be working around those hours. The third thing is that you will really mature as a person, and your thoughts will evolve. for the better, definitely. However, you are solely responsible for a lot of things around you, and this is all you can think about 24/7. 24/7, you're thinking about the startup. 24/7, you are thinking about what your next project should be, what who the next client is, how to convert the next client. That's all that is going to be in your mind. Now, the next good thing is that if something bothers you, you can change it. You have a lot of freedom to change things around you. The con here is that you are the only one who is responsible to do it. So if you can handle that, that's great. If you can't, then that's going to be a problem that you'll have to solve again. Um, Obviously, the last point here is that it may work really well for you. You may be really, really successful, but the con is that there is no guarantee about that. You can't look into the future right now. Now, while I say these positive things along with these negative things, I want to talk about two of my really close friends who have started up. So, one of my friends, his name is Hamza. He started a startup for people who are handicapped. So, he creates robotic prosthetics. So, people who have their arm cut or in some gruesome accident, he makes prosthetics that have robotic capabilities to help them out. And this friend of mine, he has uh, there are several different IITs and IIMs that are incubating his startup. And also, there are several different agencies that are funding him, including the government of India. He raised funding from the government of India itself. I have another friend. His name is Nihal, who is also like both these guys are from an engineering background. So Nihal, what he did was he also did electronics and he got a job in VLSI. So the first day he went into his job, his seniors taught him a lot of different things. And he tells me that as soon as they taught him those things, he immediately forgot them. He couldn't pick any of it up, and he felt really stupid. He felt like he's not understanding anything. It's not working out. So he went back home, and he is very passionate about cars. So he started working again on his car, on writing software for his engine, and that's what he does for a living now. He started his own company called Tangent Motorsport, and he serves companies in Canada to tweak cars, and he builds software systems for cars to enhance their features and performance. So this is something that really worked out very well for him. So whatever it is, you do end up learning a lot, and the journey is really beautiful. So while starting up, be so engrossed in the good that it outweighs the bad. Uh, Now, there are some questions that you should answer while thinking about your idea. So, the first question is, what problem am I solving? The second question is, how big is this problem? Like, how many people does it affect? The third thing is, what is the solution that I have to this problem? How do I think I can solve this problem? The fourth question is, will people pay money for this problem being solved? Fifth question is, in what other ways can I earn money by solving this problem? The sixth question is, who else is solving this problem? And how much are they charging? And then you study this competitor in depth. The seventh question is how to be better than them. This is very important. And lastly, how to find clients. Now, the next thing that you have to see is that once you have the answers to these questions, you have to ask yourself how you can test these assumptions, because the solutions that you have to these questions, they are your assumptions. They may not be how the world actually works. So how can you test that out immediately? So you brainstorm this with your friends, with your team, then you implement a minimum viable product of sorts as soon as possible. Then you collect feedback and you brainstorm again. So if it's not working out, you talk to your team that this is what we did, this is what didn't work out. Measure the key metrics and brainstorm once again. So, what are the resources that will help you in solving your problems? Um, to help solve these problems, you should be reading a lot of books. So, these are obviously on topics that will help you. So, read self help if that is going to help you out, read technical books if that is going to help you out, read business related books if that is where you are facing problems. Uh, so a few books that I would really recommend are How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie and Crucial Conversations. There's another really beautiful book that I read that helped me out in my sales journey. So as Varun mentioned previously, I manage sales for my startup, but I am an engineer. I have not done an MBA. I have not done any course related to sales. So what I did was I read a lot of books, I watched a lot of videos, and I figured it out on my own. So that is very important. And lastly, what you should be doing is you should be talking to a lot of people. So if you know someone's parents who have started a business, or if you know someone who has started a company, you should talk to them. If your friend's parent is a business person, then tell your friend to arrange a meeting with their parents so that you can discuss the problems that you're facing in your startup and go talk to them. You can also talk to your professors, like we spoke to Abhay sir, and Abhay sir and all the different people that you talk to are going to be very supportive when you talk about doing something good for the society. So if you talk about starting up and solving some problems that people are facing, someone is definitely going to hear you out. And lastly, what I would like to discuss is when should you go in full time? So should you leave your job that you have right now to start up? The answer to that is you should go in full time as soon as possible. This answer varies for everyone. Now, if you have financial responsibilities at home, then what you should be doing is that you should be starting soon. You should be starting full time as soon as you get those financial metrics hit. So let's say you need X amount of money at home every month, then till your business idea doesn't generate that much revenue, don't go in full time. No one is forcing you to do that. So go in full time as soon as possible, but don't procrastinate. Uh, Now, when I talk about going in full time, a lot of people will, like the people who are serious about starting up, will have this question in the back of their mind about how to convince your parents uh, to start up, to tell them that you're leaving your job and you're starting with a venture of your own. So when you plan on doing that, this is going to be your first sales mission that you will have. So you will have to go in to your parents, you will have to explain to them that you have this business idea that you want to try, and you have to convince them that now is the best time. Because you've been living frugally for the last 20 years of your life, so you will live frugally for the next 2 to 3 years as well. And this is the best time. Like once you have a good, well paying job, once you adjust to that life, it is going to be very difficult to go back and start your own company where you are going to feel like you really don't know much at the start. So, as soon as you can put in those 24 months to figure out things, the better. So, yeah, they are your first client. You gain traction, you show them the results, and you can start up. Now, there are going to be several different questions that come into your mind if you're serious about starting up. And I would recommend you to write to me at shiv@revolotech.com. And I would love to hear the questions that come in. And obviously, right now, we will also be having a question answer session. So, yeah, I would love to take some questions from you guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shiv Kumar, for this brilliant session on how to basically start your own company or a business from scratch, and how do you build it towards making it a success, though there are a lot of hurdles that people face while creating their startup. I am really very happy to hear your story, because it is something that every engineer envisions one day, that he should have a startup. Now, seeing Elon Musk venturing into something like the SpaceX, and every budding engineer is now behind the dream that we should do something like Elon Musk. We should have a startup, and but there lie lot of questions where people are still stuck and don't know what to do, and how to move forward. So there are a few questions that we have received, and it would be great if I could ask them to you. So the first question that we have here is, what was the motivation for you to become an entrepreneur than joining some industry?
Okay. So when we talk about motivation, what happened was that when we got our first client, things were so exciting to us. It was a whole new world. It was something that we had never taken a look at. It was hiding in plain sight. We had never looked at how a transporter works. We had not received this side of the world in our views. So it was really exciting to understand how things proceed. And I really felt like it's the right time to start up, because if like I did want to start up sometime in my life, so I felt that now is the best time to start. So that's what really motivated me to go ahead. And obviously, my partner supported me a lot in having these discussions, in understanding how to move ahead. And when you pitch to investors, when they give you positive feedback, when you talk to a lot of people, when people start using something that you created on your own, that experience is very different from anything that I had felt in my life. So I definitely wanted to explore and see what happens if I follow this path. And that's what kept me motivated.
Well said, Mr. Shiv Kumar. The next question that we have is that every startup requires some or the other professional guidance. So, can you guide our aspirants on how they can get in touch with professionals, and whom should they exactly target when they are in their initial phase of their startup?
Right. So the beautiful thing about the startup environment is that uh, when there is one entrepreneur who has had a similar journey to yours, that entrepreneur is definitely going to help you. And if you just look around, if you just attend a particular startup event, you could just go into Google and see what startup events are happening around you. And you can just go and attend one of them, where you will find several different people who are trying to start their own business. You talk to those people, you talk to people who have already started up, and people who have some experience in it, and they'll definitely guide you. So when we were doing this, when we were still in college, there was one person, very senior professional, his name being Rituraj Verma, who who gave us a lot of time for nothing in return. So we just spoke to him. He had experience of starting his own company, and we told him that there's something that we are trying to do. And he really just helped us out for nothing in return. He took us out to McDonald's and he sat with us listening to our idea. And then we said that we are interested in doing this for logistics. So he said, okay, let's go to Masjid Bandar right now. He took us to Masjid Bandar and he took us inside a transporter's office and he spoke for us that these boys are trying to start something in the transport industry. So can you help them? And he set our first meeting when we were still in college. And this is what happens when you reach out to people around you. Similarly, we used to talk to Abhay sir every single week, and he also used to give us these connections. He also used to give us these contacts that we could speak to. And when we talk about other engineering colleges like KJ Somaya, BJT, I think all these colleges, even our college, probably does a lot of these activities like the one that's happening right now, where you can connect with me as well. But all these colleges hold these kind of events where you can pitch your idea. So you should definitely go there and pitch your idea. And the people who are sitting on the panel, they will definitely give you connections, if not investments. So those connections definitely help. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer that explained everything in brief. Moving on to the next question that we have is every business idea implementation requires some seed money. And in this case, how should a startup contact and pitch to investors for their startup and try to bring in the attention of these investors towards investing in your company?
Okay. So when it comes to seed funding, it is something that is very cutthroat right now. So what happens is that investors look for people who have implemented some kind of product and have some kind of traction. If you can show that you have already built your product and then you have a lot of growth coming in, which is month on month, which means that last month you had 10 clients, now you have 20. So you show 100% month on month growth. So that is the kind of thing that investors are looking at right now because of the abundance of startups. So you should definitely go and pitch to these investors. You should create a deck with the questions that I spoke about a while earlier. There are about 9 to 10 questions that you should answer, and you should put that on a pitch deck. For reference, you can also look at the pitch deck of Airbnb, which is very beautifully made. So you can just go onto the internet and search for the pitch deck and follow that format. Again, if you go into YouTube and see how to create a pitch deck, you will find hundreds of videos. And in creating this pitch deck, you will think about a lot of aspects of your idea. Now, the best way to actually go about, um, like when you talk about getting funding from investors, that is, there is only a certain aspect of that that you can control. You can't say with 100% certainty that a particular investor is going to invest into your idea. So I would say definitely pitch for it, but don't count on it. You should have other ways to fund your startup. So in our case, what we did was our very first client was also a paid client. We didn't provide free services at all. So if you can um, generate revenue from each and every client, that is something that could help you out. Again, we also faced a lot of trouble in growth because we didn't have funds to go ahead. We haven't raised funding as of now yet, and it is something that we will be looking into shortly. But at this phase, when we do raise funds, it is for growth. So basically, right now, if I go to an investor, I can confidently tell them that we already have these many clients, we already have a good track record, we have been doing this for the last 4 years, and investors would definitely trust me much more than they would back then. So that is something that you should keep in mind.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question that we have is very typical amongst startups, and it is related to how your family reacts to it. So it is a typical stereotype in Indian families that families generally prefer their children getting right into a company or getting right into a job after their degree. So, how did your family react when you said that you had been placed in Accenture and then you broke out the bitter truth of opening a startup and your journey or discussing your idea with your family and somehow convincing them that we are trying to do something innovative, but all we need is your support.
Right. So how that worked was that I did not open my mouth about quitting my job till I had my first paid client. So at the end of the day, what happens is that your parents are looking out for your best interest. They don't want you to leave your job and sit at home for the next 2 years doing nothing. So you really need to ensure that they trust your abilities. And back when I started, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I wasn't even certain about what we were going to do, because as I mentioned, we already tried doing something that did not really work out. Then we spoke to another client, and that client told us that they wanted software. So we started building that. That was something that worked in our favor. Again, we were going out every week trying to meet these people. So that is something that we were doing. But as soon as I had my first paid client, it was a much easier conversation there, that there is something that is required in the industry. There's something I've already done, and I want to really see what happens as I move ahead. And your parents are going to ask you this one question: what are you going to do if you fail? What will happen if you fail in this venture? So you should have the answer to that. And the answer they are probably looking for is that you will either find another job, or you will do an MBA, or you will do your post grad, or you will start something else. You will figure it out. You just need to establish that confidence that you can figure it out. And then obviously you tell them that I've been living without a salary for all these years. Once I start getting a salary, it's going to be tough to leave a job and then start up. They're going to probably tell you to get some work experience and then start up. So you can handle that with these realities, that it is harder to leave a job and start than just starting out right now. So keeping all those things in mind, it was not very difficult convincing my parents, and they are definitely very happy now. I mean, even I didn't imagine that. Like back when I was in college, I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any romantic dreams about this as such. It happened organically, and they are definitely very supportive of what we are doing right now, because uh, they have seen the results of the same. So that is the answer. You show them results, they will definitely consider it.
That was a great answer, Mr. Shivkumar, and I hope that all the viewers who are watching it live would surely have would have got that new confidence if they have something brewing up in their mind about starting a startup and putting forth in front of their parents. It would make their way easier now. Moving on to the next question that we have is, how should one assemble a team or hire employees during the initial phases of a startup?
Okay, so when you talk about the initial phase of a startup, uh, hiring is going to be really tough. And this is something that we had a problem with. We have struggled with hiring for a very long time, till we generated enough revenue to be able to afford employees. So, if you think about hiring people right at the start, it is going to be very, very tough. So, at the start, the right approach is that you will be the employee for your startup, and you will have to assemble a team of like-minded people. So how I worked was that my partner used to code the software, and I used to work on selling it. So we had this share in responsibilities. He would handle the tech, I would handle the clients, and somewhat that is how things are still going on. And we made this decision because I liked speaking to people and I liked networking, whereas he liked handling the tech. He was very much into the tech. He was very, very interested in the coding aspect. He was very interested in the newer technologies and things like that. He already knew how to code. Even I did, but again, I felt like I belong in speaking to people and making these new networks and connections and things like that. So that's how we split the responsibilities. So what you should be doing is you should be finding people around you, maybe your classmates, maybe your friends. You should be talking to your friends about what they can do and what they are good at. And at the end of the day, everyone should be focusing on their strengths. So if someone is very good at talking, you don't ask them to do something else. You don't ask them to code, or you don't ask them to do something that they don't like. So when everyone is basically contributing in something they're already good at, things become much easier. Obviously, a lot of polishing of skills is required, but that happens much more easily than if uh, otherwise.
That was well said. And the next question that we have is nowadays our government is focusing a lot on startups and trying to provide a lot of incubation centers to help these startups come up. And now these incubation centers are probably very prevalent across the country. So is it okay to take help of such incubation centers, or to manage all these things on your own rather than taking help of an incubation center?
Whenever you talk about an incubation center, it is definitely something that you should look at. So it varies from startup to startup. So if your idea is such that an incubation could help out. So how incubation centers work are that there are several different startups that share a particular space. Okay. So the good thing that comes out of this is that you get to work with like-minded people. And I mean, when you get placed in a job, what happens is that you have hundreds of like-minded people around you at any given point of time. But when you start up and when you are working towards a goal that no one else is, what happens is that usually you are alone. I mean, no one is making the same career choice as you are. So at times it gets a little hectic where no one can really relate to the problems that you're having to work weekends while your friends are out partying. So, I mean, that does happen a few times here and there. So, if you get into an incubator, what happens is that there are like minded entrepreneurs near you, and that is always great. And many of these incubation centers offer a great deal. I mean, they don't take much equity or much of a fee to get you enrolled. So it is definitely something that a person should consider. Again, when you talk to these incubation centers, you will understand what they are taking from you. They are either taking equity, they are either taking a fee, or if they are not taking any of these, then you really need to ask why they are helping you out. So, and then you can make a call. Again, there is no reason to be highly skeptical about it. Just give it some good thinking and then go ahead with it.
That was a great answer, Mr. Shivakumar. Moving on to the last two questions that we have. What are some tips and tricks you would suggest our audience to keep their spirits up through the tough and stressful times while they are building their startup?
Okay. So, the first tip is that if you have someone who is working with you, that is going to be your greatest resource. So, if you have friends who are willing to start up with you, willing to quit their jobs while you quit yours, that is something that is going to be very good because multiple people working with one goal is definitely much better than you working alone. So if you can go out and get a co-founder who believes in the ideas, or if you can brainstorm ideas with people so that you guys can work on it together, that is something that would be very helpful when things get tough. Now, the second aspect is that focus on the good things that are happening and just keep moving forward. So you have limited time. Let's say that you say you are setting apart the next 24 months to start up and see what happens. So in these 24 months, try and generate good results. Work every day and just give yourself these 24 months. Don't think about anything else. These 24 months are just to start up. Don't have very high expectations, but also don't go on the negative side either. You have given yourself this time to go through this journey, just experience each and every aspect of it. So that really helps. Apart from that, there are several resources online. So if you have a very problem centric approach, that works. Like if there is something that is bothering you right now, let's say that you're not being able to hire people to work on your idea because you don't have the money for it. So what you should be doing is you should be talking to people, maybe in colleges, talk to students and see if they will intern for you and if they will help you out with this project. So we also did that, and we had a few people, a few juniors who worked with us for free just for the experience. And if you talk to enough people, there are definitely people who will help you out. So keep your eyes open, and you will definitely, with a problem-centric approach, you will definitely be able to solve anything that comes your way.
Thank you for the insightful answer. Hope that it will suffice the need of the audience, and hope they get all the answers, and they would have understood how they can handle and tackle during the worst phases of their startup. Moving on, the question that we have is how your engineering knowledge helped you in your journey.
Okay, so when it comes to the technical aspect of engineering, as you all know, I was an electronics student, and what I ended up doing was sales. So there was not much of an overlap when it comes to the technical aspect of things. But the fact that I was an engineer allowed me to uh, firstly meet my co-founder. That was very, very important, and that is something that nothing else would have given me. Like being in the same class and being in a class full of people who had decent technical skills was something that really helped. Now, secondly, I was a very average student for the first 4 semesters in college, and it came to a point where I had to score very well to even be eligible for the placements. So, in the last 4 semesters of my college, what happened was I got really serious about uh, my marks and the studies and things like that, and I ended up putting a lot of attention to uh, score well and uh, end up scoring decent marks. So that was something that was a challenge for me, like being a very lazy person at the start, to change my ways and to really start scoring well. That required a lot of skills that were transferable. Like when I had to do that, I looked at the people around me who were scoring well. I thought about how they were scoring well. Later on, when I started up, I was looking at competitors who were doing really well, and then I was using the same knowledge that I had before to, I was using the same strategies to start up as well. Apart from that, there was this subject called electromagnetic engineering, EMI, that we had. And this subject was incredibly tough for me. I mean, I never understood any of those formulas that were in the textbook. But I had to score well. So what I thought was that if I have to score well, I have to buy heart this whole book and go into the exam. So that is exactly what I did. I basically by hearted the whole thing and went into the exam and scored really well. And after that day, I was like, if I can do this, then I can do anything that I want to. And that gave me a lot of confidence. So there will be many such moments that come across. Apart from that, you will meet amazing people in college. I made some of my best friends back in Bassett, and I remember all those things very fondly. So that is very, very priceless above anything else.
Thank you for that wonderful answer. Hope all the recipients are happy to see you uh, talking to
Yeah.
them and learning from their experiences. One last question before we end the session is that there are a lot of times when you discuss your ideas with a lot of people and a lot of professionals, and the feedback that you generate is generally that your idea seems very ambitious, and we don't know whether it can make an impact in the market or not. Also, that there are a lot of students who envision to start up right after their college, not sitting for the placements and trying to work on developing their startups. So, is it the right approach, or is it that should they start working in some company and then after a few years of work, uh, probably get in full time for the start?
Right. So as I already mentioned before, the right time to start up is now. If you feel like there is an idea that you should be working on, you should be working on it right now. So I would say that you shouldn't wait until you finish college to start working on your idea. If Because I started working on my idea in the fourth semester. So if you have an idea, you should start working on it right now. So starting in the fourth semester, what happened was it gave me a lot of time to fail, rethink, and reapproach with no liabilities. Like my parents did not tell me that I'm wasting my time. They were just happy that I was doing something apart from staying at home and just doing nothing. So it was great that I had that activity to get into. So you should be starting as soon as possible. Um, Again, you should have a target, a goal in mind that you will. And I believe that if you have an idea and if you have started working on it, you should start trying to achieve results. So if you have results achieved under you, and if you have the confidence that you can take it forward, then you should definitely give that a shot. Uh, if you fail, you can fail fast and rethink what you have to do. Because when you think about starting your own company, the first idea might not be the one that clicks. It might not be the successful idea that you have. There are several such entrepreneurs that have tried to bring their startup to life and have had 40, 50 ideas that they have worked on and finally gained success. So it depends on how your luck favors you. So you should give yourself enough time to each and every idea so that you can work through these ideas and move ahead. Again, when I say this, I will reiterate that if someone has financial responsibilities at home, that change that changes a lot of things. Like if uh, there are financial difficulties that your family faces, then it is your responsibility to first see that your startup idea generates enough revenue to support you through these times. So whether it is you getting an investment from investors or whether it is you getting money from your clients, it is your responsibility to take it forward from there.
Thank you so much, sir, for beautifully answering and picking out the perfect points that one should note down or jot down as I am currently hearing it. But most of the users might be writing it down because at some or the other point of time, when they would be developing their startup, it would surely help them. Thank you so much, sir, for answering patiently all the questions that all our users had. And I hope that the users who had a lot of doubts in their mind regarding how to get on with their startups in any phase of their life they might be, they would be really happy to uh, hear from you some tips and some solutions that could probably ease off some of the pressure they have. And there would be one question that I would like to ask that uh, sir, how should a student approach a particular idea if he's demotivated at the first instance after he shares his idea? For example, if a student has an idea, he pitches that idea to his professor, or for example, to a potential investor, or to a friend, or to his parents, and at the after sharing his idea, the uh, person who is listening to it suddenly gives a feedback that this is quite an ambitious idea. I don't think it might work, but there could be some chances, like there might be 5% chances or 10% chances that the idea might work. So if that idea has that potentiality that it might work sometime better in future, not the present time, so how should that student or that person who is envisioning to get up into a startup work on it, because he gets demotivated at the very first stage at
Right.
when he's pitching his idea.
Got it. So here, what I would like to emphasize is that people should not get very overly attached with firstly their ideas, and secondly they should not get overly attached by what other people tell them about those ideas. So whenever you have an idea, uh, firstly you should be looking at it objectively, where you will there shouldn't be an aspect here where someone tells you that the idea is bad and you take that personally and you feel bad about it. That's not needed. So whenever someone is giving you feedback about the idea, it is generally a person's opinion that comes to you. So when someone listens to your idea and they say that I don't think this works, I don't think this will work, what they mean by that is that if I worked on this particular idea, I think that I wouldn't be able to accomplish a good result. That is what they mean by that. So when you look at it objectively, you are the best judge of what skills you have. You are the best judge of the people who are working with you. So before trying anything out, you shouldn't just give up. And when you do actually try to implement some idea, you should be taking market feedback. So instead of like putting a lot of weightage on what your let's say friends say or what your potential investors say, you should really be listening to your clients. So you should be trying to find people who are the clients for the idea. I mean, whatever idea there is to be implemented, you try and implement that and see how that goes ahead, and take feedback from your clients more than you take feedback from others, because at the end of the day, the only people who have vested interest in your idea are your clients, and no one else really can be a good judge of these things. So yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for beautifully answering that question. I also have another question that
Okay.
if, for example, a person who is interested to form a company, everyone knows that there is a lot of funding that goes into establishing a company or a startup. If it is more or related to manufacturing or something which is not software based, even if it is software based, it requires a lot of funding because you need to procure a lot of things. You need to pay your mates or your teammates who are working with you. So is it that a person should plan out taking a startup to full time, like first he should be working in some company for probably 3 to 4 years and try to build up a capital or a corpus that would suffice the needs of taking his startup into a full time along with his partners, and after these 3 4 years on parallelly working with it, he should call it quits and then use that corpus instead of trying to potentially ask for funding or reach out to banks for loans. So is this a viable option that a entrepreneur can think on while trying to start up?
It is definitely a viable idea. It is a good idea to work part time until you have capital built up, or until you have some assurance that things will work out. So that is definitely a great idea. I don't discourage it. It is definitely something that a lot of entrepreneurs do. However, there are many different approaches to this one problem that are taken. So, for example, there are several different strategies that can be utilized to reduce your risk and improve the chances of reducing the amount of money that you're going to spend before you see the results. For example, a lot of companies generate pre-orders. So pre-orders are basically something you perform the marketing first, you get orders for the product, and then you go and manufacture it. So what happens here is that you don't have that same risk, where after manufacturing a product it doesn't sell. You don't go through those situations. So with the advent of digital marketing now, even considering, let's say there is a kind of product that you have an idea for, and you just want to test the waters. So what you should do is maybe you start a Facebook page or an Instagram page about it, or some particular channel on YouTube, and run ads on that. Run ads on the final product that is going to be present, even though you don't have it, just to see what kind of results you get. Or what you can do is, in my case, my client was a transporter, so we didn't have a transport software yet, but we called transporters as if we had a software, and we asked them would they use a software if we gave them the opportunity. So there are various ways to get that market feedback before even making a product. And I would very, very strongly encourage any person who is starting up to use these strategies, because uh, even if you're doing a job and collecting the money required to say do some manufacturing or spend money on different activities, this will give a lot of feedback to you about what kind of product sells in the market, and it will save you a lot of valuable time going ahead. So there is a strategy, and apart from that, there are definitely many other strategies that people can use to reduce their risk. So you could just look into other strategies as well.
Thank you so much, sir. One last and final question before we wrap up the seminar. Uh, is that the startup culture depends only on one person, or is it entirely the teamwork of all the people who come together on and work on one idea, rather than just one person bringing out an idea and then taking in people to work for that particular startup? Or is it better that you earlier itself form a group of like-minded people, bring them together during the initial phases of the startup?
Okay, so when you talk about the kind of teamwork that goes into startups, and the kind of emotion that goes into startups, so there is definitely a lot of shared emotion between co-founders, and there is a lot of shared emotion between teammates as well. So let's say you have employees who work with your startup, they also do share a great deal of those emotions that you do have. It is definitely a team effort, and it is impossible to build something of value without good people working with you. So the value, like the highest value of a startup, is the people that work in it. At the end of the day, you need to have really good people who work with you to build something good. Now, when it comes to the aspect of everyone having a shared emotion for solving a problem, so it is something that gets built up over time. So a lot of good business ideas are not very emotional problems as such. Like, for example, I think a few days back we had a session over the bond market by some other person who was taking a VREIT session. So when you talk about, let's say, investing or thinking about bonds and problems in those areas, those are very dry topics, yet they have a lot of financial rewards in them. So, like on the surface, it may seem very dry, but the deeper you get into it, the better you will feel about it. So, that is obviously something that uh, emotion builds up over time. So, as you work on an idea with a lot of different people, the emotion will build up over time. And obviously, you should take these ideas with enthusiasm, creativity, see how you can apply yourself. So that is a very important aspect that goes into it.
Thank you so much, sir, for covering every inch and every aspect of how a person can start his company and how he can build up over a period of time. And I would like to mention it out to all our viewers that for every startup, patience is the key. So the more you are patient, the more fruits you'll bear, and the more hard you work is how more success your startup would gain. So with this amazing session, I thank Mr. Shivkumar Krishnamurthy for joining us, and hope our viewers are now happy to happy to have their doubts answered by Mr. Shivkumar, and I thank him on behalf of the Department of Electronics and the VReach committee for joining us and helping us conduct this seminar in a very smooth way. Thank you, Mr. Shivkumar.
You're
And
welcome.
for all
It
the
was my
viewers
pleasure.
out there, we have pasted the feedback form links. Please do fill them out. And till then, have a good day. Thank you.